Hey, Grace for Me family. Welcome back. So, I am sitting here wondering, how are you leaning into disappointment? How do you lean into disappointment? Or do you lean in at all? Do you allow disappointment to run the show? Do you allow it to take over? Have you allowed disappointment to dictate the space that you're in? I think disappointment is underrated. And I say that because it has been my experience that disappointment carries with it such a deflation. Like you feel so deflated when you have been disappointed, because the idea is that there was an expectation, and that expectation usually when disappointment is involved, that expectation was high, right? It was a high level. You expected a person to do something that ultimately they never did, or you expected an outcome that somehow never materialized. And because we have this, I'm going to call it an expectation bubble that we blow up, and depending on the length of time that we are expecting, that bubble gets bigger and bigger. I'm asking you to use your imagination right now, right? It gets bigger because you're blowing it up, just like you blow up a balloon, right? You're blowing and you're blowing and you're blowing, and every day you have hopes for it, and every day you convince yourself that it's going to happen, and it gets bigger and bigger. And when it finally gets to the place where you realize this is never going to happen, it's as if somebody took a pin and popped that balloon. And that can leave us just like that balloon, right? Or just like one of those little characters in those video games, do 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 do, right? And just so deflated. It can leave us feeling so deflated and so discouraged and so despondent, right? I don't know why I'm talking about disappointment tonight. I have not experienced any disappointments recently. It's not something that I'm struggling with, but I do think it is something that we should talk about, because maybe it's something that one of you is struggling with tonight. I can tell you that disappointment is not a stranger to me. I can tell you that I have experienced many disappointments in my life, and tonight I want to share with you one of those disappointments, but not in a way of rehearsing the past, but just giving a testimony of sorts, of a huge disappointment that I experienced, but to just let you know how it went, right? So, you all know that I have talked about the fact that I have a daughter who is autistic, right? AUTISTIC, autistic. And when I was pregnant with her, the doctors told me that they saw something on the scans that was troubling. And so they began to monitor me every week. Now, every week, I would get these really high tech ultrasounds. They were not your typical ultrasound, they were very high tech, and I had to go to a special clinic to get them. And I got them every Friday. And every Friday, we as a family, not just my nuclear family, not just my, immediate family, but extended family and church family and friends, we would all pray that somehow there would be a miracle. And when we went for the scan this week, it would not only be better, but it would be gone, right? This thing that was happening to my kiddo. Well, guys, every week it was worse. Every single time we went back to monitor this particular situation, the fluid in my child's brain was worse. And that went on for probably about 10 weeks. And by the end, they had to do an emergency cesarean section because it was so bad that they could no longer even see brain matter on the scans. Now, for sure, this is the same person who's going to be one of my guests on the Grace for Me. So, can you imagine the level of disappointment that I had? I'm sure you really can't. You can think about it, but I'm sure you really cannot imagine how disappointed I was, and disappointed in God, because I felt like you did me dirty, right? Which is absolutely not true. But you know how we be in our feelings, right? And every time, like I said, this thing was worse. And it became clear that this is a road that I was going to travel. I was not going to get out of it. It was not going to go away. It was never going to be the same again. My life, meaning, when I say this, my life was never going to be the same. And on this side, 20 years later, countless families later, innumerous lessons learned, so much growth and development of character, so much more patience and endurance, so much more faith in the God who is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all I could ever ask or imagine. And so much more understanding in terms of how all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord. Let me tell you, I know that disappointment was necessary. It was necessary. What I hope you take from this little story or testimony of mine is that you know that tomorrow is possible. And regardless of how much disappointment you might be feeling today, Trust me when I tell you, there is another side. You just have to get to it. And the way you get to the other side is one step at a time, one moment at a time, one day at a time. And some days it's going to be minute by minute. But if you keep pressing forward, you will get onto the other side of this. I promise you. Yes, even in the face of that much disappointment. I'm telling you the truth, right? And you're going to see on the episode coming soon with me and my girl just what God had in store, okay? Listen, I don't know if that resonated with you. I'm hoping it does. And I'm going to upload this video right away. When I heard that notion in my head just now as I was washing my makeup off and getting myself ready for bed after work, because y'all know I'm like a working person now. I heard it as clear as day. Somebody is struggling with disappointment. And I don't know what you're disappointed in. I don't know who disappointed you. I don't know what you felt like should have been better by now. But I promise you that if you wait on the Lord, He will renew your strength. Again, I say wait on the Lord. All right, I'm not going to say any more, because if I say any more, I'm going to start making stuff up. And just so you know, while I was having a hissy fit, because trust me, I was not quoting scriptures as this disappointment was happening to me. I was fussing. I'm pretty sure I said a couple cuss words too. I cried a river. I cried several rivers. But I kept moving forward. And I never let go of the idea that God was somehow going to help me. I didn't. I knew somehow He would. And He never let go. So even if there was a moment where I was like, I'm out of here, He never let go, and He won't let go of you. So keep your head up. I know it's at the beginning of the year. I know we talked about new beginnings. I know we're not bringing pity parties in, but we also are going to be real. And we're going to acknowledge when we're struggling. Okay? So don't let the disappointment win. Keep moving forward. All right? And like I was about to say, and got a little distracted because I'm sleepy. The times when I got weak, there was grace for me. I'll see you next time.